So hello everyone, thank you all for attending our latest webinar. As you can see, Cassie cannot join us this morning, so Adam and I will be taking you through the event today. We will keep our part short and sweet as everyone is here for the speakers. The team at Private House Days is very excited to welcome Colin and Farrah to Network and Powerhouses to take you through their experiences. I'm sure they will have so much to teach us all. They will both have a 20-minute time slot with Farrah going first. If you can, jot down any questions that you have and save them for the end when both guests have spoken. We will have a 10-minute Q&A where you can pick their brains to ask any questions you have, and if everyone is ready, we will begin. So first up, we have Farrah, who is head of Farrah Networking.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I keep saying, I'm going to say Megan, then I see Cassie. I'm like,
I'm using her Zoom.
You're confusing me, girl. Thanks, Megan. Thank you. Thank you very much. What an honour to be on, let's say, virtual platform with Colin as well, Mr. Networker, and he's going to talk all about what he does face to face. But networking, I'm going to talk about networking online, right? And I'm going to talk about networking about visibility. When I talk about visibility, what does that mean? What do you understand by the word visibility? Anyone?
Prominent, being prominent.
Yeah. What else?
Prominence builds up trust.
Brilliant. What else?
You can make connections.
Yeah. What visibility, what I mean by is absolutely right. That's all the right words for visibility. Visibility is being seen every time, all the time, that you're visible. Now, let's just take an example, right? I love this example. I love an analogy when I used to work in advertising, is that when Coca-Cola was huge in the market, Coca-Cola became complacent, right? Because Coca-Cola assumed everybody knew who they were. And that's exactly what they did. They stopped advertising because they knew who they were. So they saved that money. And you know what happened? Pepsi came through the back door. Pepsi came through the back door and they took over because of their complacency. So basically what we're needing to do is visible. Visibility is so important. Visibility can be in many shapes and forms because now we've got social media platforms. Like Colin does a lot of face-to-face. I do online networking. Networking online, now it doesn't matter if it's on a platform. It could be on LinkedIn. It could be on Instagram. It could be even on TikTok, right? It could be a vlog. It could be a blog, right? It could be what Anna does and shows everybody the work that she does, the before and after. Seeing, when you see something visually, you're attracted to it, aren't you? Yeah? So who does LinkedIn networking?
Confession.
Brilliant. Anna, who else? Okay. So tell me, Bill, how do you network on LinkedIn?
Right. People that I meet, I like to get onto LinkedIn, or they want to connect with me. First of all, I look to find out where they have been and what they're doing. It's not a question of collecting numbers, people. They have to have an importance, not just for myself, but for my clients. So if I connect with them, before doing that, I look through where they have been. And I think this is the most important thing.
Brilliant. Absolutely. What about yourself, Anna?
Yeah, I just connect with people who I meet in meetings, like networking meetings, and make sure I follow and comment and, engage with their posts and things like that.
Good. Visibility is also all about planting seeds. It's planting seeds and watering them and building relationships up and speaking to those people over a period of time. So me and Oliver might not do business together, might not, right? But Oliver's constantly commenting and engaging on my posts. So Oliver's name will always pop up into my head. So if someone needs help or support with something, who do you think I'm going to talk to? Who am I going to tag? Who am I going to recommend? I'm going to recommend Oliver, right? So when we talk about social networking is not just about LinkedIn. We can't put all eggs in one basket. We can't do that, yeah? Who has other social media platforms other than LinkedIn? Anna, which one do you have?
I mostly post on LinkedIn, but I also post some stuff on Instagram and Facebook.
Good. And what about yourself, Michael?
Just Facebook only, but I really don't bring business into it, to be honest with you.
Okay, but it's not about business.
Yeah.
It's not about business because things have changed now, how people do business. People don't really want to know what you do. They want to know about your credibility. They want to know you as an individual, as a person, before they buy from you or they recommend your services. Let me just give you another analogy. Like when we go to the shopping mall, right? There's that one shopping mall. All those people that are coming into the shopping mall have one agenda, right? Maybe two, maybe they want to eat, somebody wants to shop, but they're all wanting to come inside. Why do you think the shopping malls don't have one door?
Because they want to get more people in at one time, make it more accessible.
Exactly, right? Everybody does things in a different way. I might take my car, Colin might take his bike. You just don't know. Yeah. Somebody might get the bus or the train. Everybody does things in a different way. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just what's worked for them. So this is when we talk about social media platforms, when we talk about networking, it's important to have visibility on other social media platforms. You don't have to talk about business, right? Because somebody might not have LinkedIn, but they'll have Facebook and vice versa. Do you see the power of visibility and building relationships up on different social media platforms, right? What's your thoughts on TikTok?
I don't use it.
Yeah, no one. Do you like it, Megan?
Yeah, I'm always on it.
And what do you like about it?
Just seeing all the different videos from like around the world and like just everyone's different views on different things and that stuff type of thing.
And there'll be some people that you like particularly, you keep, and their feed keeps coming up and you see them and you remember them, don't you?
Yep.
That is, now it doesn't mean I'm saying to you that you have to be on TikTok. Colin, what were you going to say there?
I was
You
just
know, Marky smiled there. I'm like, what is it?
it's just no, it was just a point of clarification. Is TikTok the one that's just video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yes.
It's just I don't do the platform, so
No, that's okay.
Is that the TikTok just video stuff? Yeah.
Video stuff.
Aye.
Jill is saying TikTok is fun, even for us oldies, and far more engaging. Right? Like, look, this is what I'm saying to you. Social media platforms like LinkedIn is really good for business / building relationships, right? Instagram is good for putting out pictures and where you've been, what restaurants you've been to, because every social media platform, you will start searching on those platforms, looking in for the keywords. If you're looking for a personal coach, if you constantly use Instagram, you will start searching on it. I know our first thing is Google, but our younger generation, the Gen Z, that is what they do. They don't just go on to Google, they search for different things on different social media platforms. And this is why the power of visibility is so important. I'm not going to go talk about the basics of networking. We all should know the basics of networking, right? Networking is about building relationships. But now it's more important that you're visible, that you're seen. People know what you do. They can recommend your services. It's as simple as that. And if you can help somebody on a different social media platform, they'll remember you, right? Because that's what it is. That's what we're doing. We're online. So if we combine online visibility and face-to-face visibility, and if you put both of them together, that's when you will have that huge amount of visibility. Now, I started off doing TikTok during COVID. I had no idea where my TikTok was going to go to. I don't know if you've seen my TikToks, Anna, I'm sure you have, and I post them on LinkedIn. So I create content, right? Content which I can use on LinkedIn, I use on Instagram, I use it on Facebook, because people see things in a different way. And the funny thing is, the TikTok video that I put up on LinkedIn will get different type of audience getting attracted to that. Instagram differently, TikTok differently. but it's still reaching different types of people with different types of mindset. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Any questions so far? No? Okay. So yeah, so that's exactly what happened. So when I went onto TikTok, I created my niche. I didn't know at that time what my niche was because there was not many people like me wearing a headscarf and doing dancing routines, but I just started off as fun. And that's when I started realizing, oh my God, there's so much potential. Now I've got over 85,000 followers on TikTok. But that just didn't happen overnight. It was consistency, being visible, and listening to other people. It's your people out there that will give you content, right? Their pain points, their problems, and you can create content from there. Now, you might not like videos, but you might like writing, right? Everybody's skills are different. And if you don't do that, then get someone to do some newsletters, get someone to create some content, get someone to do graphics like Anna does. Yeah, there's so many people out there that got different skills that you could use. But the more visible you are, the more seeds you plant, the more relationships you build, the more connections you have, because people get to see the face behind the business. Don't think business. Think building relationship, having conversations. How can I serve you? How can I help you? When you start helping and serving people without expectations, see what happens. Yeah, it will explode. But trust me, everything that we do on social media or being visible, even on LinkedIn, it's a process, and you've got to trust the process. You can't go to the gym and overnight come up with these muscles, right? I've got muscles, yeah, because I've been working for 2 years now, right? And that's the same thing with anything that we do. We take it step by step, process, and then you will start seeing the engagement. Don't think you put a post up and you only got 10 likes. Who cares if you only got 10 likes? But if it resonates with one person, you've done your job.
Yeah.
And that one person will feel happy, and he or she then will recommend you. You need to go and speak to Donna, or you need to go and speak to Bill, or you need to follow his content. It's a simple process. And this is what I say, the answers are right in front of us, right? All we have to do is believe in what we do, because we're all experts in our field, right? Bill doesn't know what I do, and I don't know what Bill does. So we're experts, right? That's why we come together and we help and we support one another. And let me just tell you one thing, guys. It's no rocket science. It's certainly not. You just believe you can do it. You're experts in your field, and get out there and be visible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Farrah. Well, that was incredible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam.
No problem. But now it's time for Colin. So, Colin, if you want to take it away, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. You caught me out there. I was soaking it up. I was ready for more from Farrah. So we've got loads of time, folks. But we've decided, Farrah and I, we want time for questions. We're happy to answer any questions because we can't cover anything. Because I do whole day workshops on this stuff. So, and I've got about 15 minutes or so. But just to echo what Farrah was saying there, some of the comments, it's about visibility. That's a really important word when it comes to networking, particularly online, but also face-to-face as well. So I'm going to do something a wee bit different now, okay? I am going to concentrate on, I might refer to LinkedIn, but I want to cover a little bit about face-to-face because it's just gone crazy because we've all been locked up for 2.5 years. And people can't get enough of it. It's just unbelievable. People that have never networked before, have networked but kind of gave it up before COVID. Everybody's back face to face. So, and it's great for me because I do like online and I love Zoom and stuff, but I like to be back to face. And face and online is completely different, everyone. So I don't know if you've kind of realised that, but I naively thought, remember everyone, what was it, March 2020, stay at home, don't go out. Okay, so I thought, okay, we'll need to, do you all remember that? Yeah. So I thought, right, I'll better get the events online. So of course, you never heard of Zoom before, got online, and I naively, because before that I've been networking for 23 years now, mostly face-to-face before COVID. I did LinkedIn. I have been doing LinkedIn since the noughties, but I was the world's worst networker. I honestly was when I first started out. Left the corporate world. I thought networking was cables under a desk attached to computers. So that was me. So believe me, everyone, I have learned the hard way. I nearly gave it up. I bumbled around. I was absolutely hopeless because nobody told me how to network. You know, just say, go out networking, Colin. No advice. So right in at the deep end. So that was me. So 24 years later, I teach it to others now. So if I can do it, anybody can do it, honestly. Honestly. But it is great to be back to face-to-face. But I naively thought that there wasn't a lot of difference between the two, particularly with events, because I was mostly running events on going from face-to-face over. And I was so wrong. I learned very quickly that there was a world of difference. And a lot of people struggled. I don't know. You don't need to put your hand up, but did anybody struggle in the earlier days? It was just... I was surprised at myself, actually. I did, I adapted quite quickly, actually, but I had to adapt really quickly. It's a steep learning curve, particularly when you're hosting events. But we won't go into that. I quickly found out that huge, big events just didn't work online. So we sort of brought the numbers back down because everybody was doing it, of course, because there's nowhere else to go. But there is a bit of a difference, and I'm sure some of you, now do realise that. So, where do we start? One big mistake that people make, everyone, is that they mistake networking, the actual mechanics of networking. Networking is a process, it is a skill. I don't know if you realise, but it is actually a process. But people mistake networking events, whether they're online or offline, with networking. They think that's networking. And it's not. It's only a tiny part of a process that you need to go through to eventually get your clients. And as Farrah's mentioned, an important part of the process, which is sort of getting towards the end of the process, is building relationships. But you need to do a lot of hard work before you get there to get the results. Now, I was debating this yesterday, actually. You might have different opinions. There's no, and Farrah did mention this. Look, it's not an exact science, everyone. There's no right or wrong here. And it's not one size fits all either. So you have to do what works for you, because that's determined by who you are, your personalities, who you want to build relationships with, your values, your industry that you're in, your personality, everything. Okay? It's what works for you. Because I do stuff that won't work for anybody else. Okay? That's me. LinkedIn people sometimes say to me, you do what, Colin, on LinkedIn? Yeah, but it only works for me. So you do what works for you. That's really important. And I'm sure Farrah will back me up here. It's the same online as well. She mentioned it. You do what works for you. There are timeless principles that you should follow, but you do what works for you. So that's really important. But I wanted to, there's a lot of myths about networking, particularly face-to-face, actually. and people forget about the power of relationships in your networks. I want to just talk a little bit about your networks. Now, Colin, well, here we are. I'm going, this is audience participation here. What do you perceive, everyone? What's the kind of definite, what's your networks? Tell me, in your own words. Well, I'm quickly putting them on the spot here, Megan. What about your networks? What's your thoughts on your networks? What are they? The function? Anybody? I've really put you on the spot, haven't I? No, it's okay.
Connection.
I'm going to give you the answer. Okay. There's two aspects to this. There's your actual activities, which is joining groups, going to networking events. Now, it could be online or offline now, because there's both now, of course. You've got your social platforms that Farrah's very eloquently talked about. You have one-to-one meetings, perhaps. You know, you just speak to people. Okay, you're just speaking to people. Okay. That's your activities, as I call them. Now, here's the shocker. I had jaws dropping yesterday when I did this. Your groups and your network meetings you go to do not give you any business. You get your business through your relationship building and your networks. And people challenge me on this, but once I explained it to them, they kind of come round. Okay, these are only tools to fuel your network.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? So you have to go to these things and indulge, you know, take part in these activities to actually meet people and be visible. And I'll sort of cover a little bit about that as well, because there's a lot of myths about that as well. And then you start developing your network, and that's where your sales come from. Now, look, you know, we have websites and things, but you know, you can get sales from your website and stuff like that. But I'm talking about network in general. But what I can genuinely say to you now, I've been doing this for a long time, of course, is that 90% of my business comes from my network. 90% of my sales come from my network through referrals. Now, your networks are of different levels. You know, there's people, I call them most of my sales and from my network comes from, I sort of call them my inner circle, if you like. People have different names for them, but it's people that trust you implicitly and you trust them, their judgment. Because I'm going to talk about this in a second as well. I'm just going to expand this. The other 10% just come from maybe the website or inquiries or whatever. Okay, but they come from my network. They don't come from the events, but you have to do these things to get to that stage. Does that make sense? I know it makes sense to Farrah because she's not.
Yes, absolutely. I would call them my raving fans, Colin.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, your raving fans. Yeah, people have got different names for them. I call them inner circle. Or I'll tell you what, I've got props today. Look, you know, I encourage you to use props online. Your network is either, remember good old yellow pages?
Mm-hmm.
This is the last copy because they don't print it anymore. It's digital.
Yeah.
That's my inner circle. My little black book. You've heard of your little black book, you know, that's more a celebrity thing, you know, in the network, you know. So, I mean, I do get other leads and recommendations and things, but, you know, that my inner circle's where the majority of it comes from. And, you know, people are into, and also I get lots of introductions from these people as well. Isn't that right, Farrah? Your raving fans give you introductions?
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, the trust is so two-way that it's like, you know, you would recommend them to, you know, one of your best clients, if you like. If that makes sense. Okay. So I just wanted to just think about that, so, you know, It's just that people run around and go to as many networking events as they can and join all these groups. They get really enthusiastic. And, you know, lots of people come and say, oh, I joined this group, Colin, and I really regretted it. Because what happens is you need to be very careful, everyone, because your time is precious. You know, people buy on emotion, like they join groups on emotion, and then they try to justify it with logic. That's what happens with sales. That's just the way it is, you know. So you need to, you know, give everything due diligence, particularly when it comes to joining groups or what meetings to go to. It's the ones that are the best fit for you. But you also need to do your homework about who's in these groups and visit them regularly or are members of, because their networks are the ones you're going to tap into. Now, just to expand a little on that, who's heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know? Hands up. Yep, famous phrase. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you've been misled all these years when it comes to networking. Because it's not what you know, who you know, or even who they know. It's who knows you. Now, people are going, oh. Now, let me explain. Let me put it like this. You know, what you know and who you know, we've totally missed, and you know, it took me a long time to work this one out as well. But you've really got to manage your network and educate your network about who you are and what you do. Okay? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? But here's the most important thing. And I covered this yesterday, and it just, you know, everybody was just, I could see their job, is what are people saying about you when you're not there? Are they saying what you would want them to say about you? Now, that's about your reputation, but the most important thing is you know, two people are having a conversation and your name comes up in the conversation, you're not there. What's the person that maybe knows you or you know them saying to the other person that's a complete stranger about, if they ask them, well, what does this guy or this girl do? And I'll guarantee you they're saying the wrong things. Because people assume they know what you do, but they normally assume wrong. So your network and your raving, I like that, I love that, that's raving fan. Are they saying the right things about you? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've got to educate them to be saying the right things. Because I get people come to me all the time and they moan about, oh, somebody gave me this introduction. It was useless. It wasn't a use. That's because the person that gave the introduction didn't have the knowledge or knew exactly what the person does. If that makes sense. So, you know, your relationships, obviously, that you start to build, that will all come into play, but it is really important that you educate people. I mean, I get it all the time. I got it, I don't know, about a dozen times yesterday. Oh, you're Colin Mckeand. Oh, yeah, I was speaking to somebody about you. And of course, I know, you know, in the start of the podcast, oh, you know, I say, was it good or bad? Oh, Colin, it was just great. You know, it's always good. So, you know, that's good. So, you know, I asked them, you know, who they were speaking to, and they would give it, oh, that's, you know, and I know that person really well. So they've been educated, if you like, for want of a better, you know. So that's good. It's always good. I always like to be reassured, but it's done in a kind of humorous way, you know. So that I thought that was really important. I wanted to cover stuff today you probably hadn't thought about. Is there any questions on that? Or you can ask me some questions at the end, because I'm conscious of the time. But that's something I wanted to, you know, to really concentrate on today about your networks. And, you know, it's all very well having the numbers and, you know, I've got all these extra amount of followers and that, but, you know, how well do they know you? Yeah. And Farrah covered it well, you know. Who cares about how many impressions you've got on your LinkedIn post? You know, that's just vanity. You know, it's like turnover is vanity in your business. And I think we've lost a bit of because when Zoom came along and everybody was going, oh, you know, it's great, you know, we don't need to travel to go to face-to-face events, and it's all about engagement. It's all, oh, it's brilliant, you know. And then, you know, this wasn't at the beginning, this was before we were coming out, you know, and we're all allowed out again, as I would say to people, well, how many, you know, that's all very well, but what results have you got? How many clients did you get? You know, I went to all these Zoom meetings, Colin. How many clients did you get? Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. No, how many clients did you get? None. You know, it was all good and fluffy, and, you know, we've lost the results focus, I think, a little bit with the pandemic, but we'll get it back. Because it's all about results at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
For you and your business. And getting the right introductions as well for your network. Okay, just a couple of other things, and then we'll just, I'm just checking my watch here. A couple of other things, because we're doing face-to-face today. When you go to networking events, you've got to understand that people, and this is very particular for face-to-face, and online as well to a certain extent, but because you're speaking and you're interacting face-to-face, is people are there for their own business and they've got their own agenda. So don't be surprised if they're not interested in what you say. Okay, don't get bent out of shape. No, please, just, if you understand this, it's fine. You know, people come, oh, they weren't interested, Colin. Well, why were they not interested? You know, I jokingly sometimes say, you're like this, Farrah. Well, were you interesting? Were you interested in them? And they sort of go, somebody said that to me way back 20 years ago. Well, were you interested in Colin? You know, what were you speaking about? I'll bet you were speaking about yourself and you weren't interested in them. And I was, it was true. Told you I was the world's worst networker. So please remember that. So, you know, don't be interested if they're not, you know, because sometimes people jump straight in, don't they? It's the old phrase that I use, you know, they jump straight into business. What is it you do? You know? And they start talking about their business, and people make instant decisions when they're particularly when you're face to face with people. You know, I'm in such and such. You know, and the person immediately makes an instant decision. Right, I'm not interested because I've got one of these. I'm really happy with them. Of course, they've totally missed the point because that's only that individual they're speaking to. They haven't a clue what their network looks like that you would want to tap into. So one of my top tips, which I always give at every session I do, is, you know, don't jump straight in at a conversation. What is it you do? Meaning what their business is. Okay, it's the networking equivalent of do you come here often? Okay, now I haven't got time to go, but it is, you know, people, the conversation dries up very quickly. And as Farrah said earlier, they're interested in you as a person. So talk about something other than your business. And then people say, oh, but Colin, it's a business event. Yes. But if the conversation dries up in a couple of minutes, you're gone. But if you find some common ground with the people, you know, it could be anything, hobbies or family or where you come from, anything like that, then when business comes into the conversation, they're more readily, you know, won't dismiss you.
Yeah.
Is that right, Farrah?
Absolutely. What I would also add as well, Colin, compliment someone. If you like what they're wearing, or if you like their shoes, ladies, I love shoes. I always look at their shoes and I always compliment on them. And it's a warm feeling and it's genuine. If you like something and they warm up to you, and that's how you can open up a conversation. And just expanding on what Colin said about raving fans, right? Imagine you're at a networking event and say that's a group of 50 people, and out of those 50 people, you connect with 5 people. 5 people are your inner circle. Imagine them giving you a lead, a referral every single day. 5 people giving you a referral every single day because they love you. They are in awe of what you do. And they will talk about you. They will remember you and remember you do the same for them. That's how networking works. And I love how Colin says, it's not what you know, it's not who you know. Do they know you? Do they know you as a person? Each networking group out there is different for different types of people. Colin runs a networking group, an extremely successful networking group. I run a networking group, but Colin's not my competition. I'm not Colin's competition, because we do the same thing, but we do it in our own styles, in our different ways. Colin will attract his tribe, Farrah will attract her tribe. So every group is different. You just have to go in and see who your tribe is. Where is your tribe? What are they doing? That's when you'll start resonating with that particular group. So I love what you said there, Colin, because networking groups, when you go in there, people think, what can I take from there? How many sales can I get? It's not about that. It's patience. Patience, visibility, connections and relationships. How can I help you? That's what I would say. Very good. Thanks, Colin.
Yeah. But yeah, so, be very careful, because people come to my group and they say, and I find out, my guests, like they tell me, well, this is my first networking group, Colin, or my first visit to a networking event. And they're nervous and stuff. And then they come to me at the end and say, oh, that was great, I want to join. I say, well, hold on a minute. I know thank you for the feedback, because people get emotional. And I do genuinely, say to people, look, you're completely new to networking. There's other types of networking events at different times, different formats, different people. So I recommend, I'm happy to accept you, I said, but, would it not be better if you went maybe check one or two other ones? That makes sense. Yeah. And some of them don't come back because they find another one.
Yeah.
Because it's the first event and they think it's great, that's what happens. And as I said earlier, people join up with stuff and they regret it. So you've got to, if you're new, you need to go around one or two of the different groups now, because there's loads of groups now.
There's loads of groups, yeah.
There's loads of groups now online, but particularly there's loads starting up in the face-to-face front. So that, it's give it your due diligence. So
I would add in one thing, a tip for everyone. Like, if you're wanting to join a networking group, get to know the host. Get to understand why they're opening up that networking group. What does it mean to them? What are their values? Because if they align with you, they will have the right type of people in their group. Because I don't bring everybody onto Farrah networking, because it's not everybody's cup of coffee. I have a conversation with them. I find out what their values are, what they're there for. And if I feel they're the right fit, they will join us. If not, I will politely say, it's not the right for you. It's just like Colin says, you've got to understand your values and understand why they're doing what they're doing. And that's when networking will be exciting and you'll look forward to it as well.
No, that's right. I actually say to guests, don't come and, I say, I'm happy to answer your questions, but Bill knows this. I say, go and ask the members.
Yeah.
Get some feedback from the members as to why they joined, and that will give you a flavour of the group. But, you need to try other ones as well.
Yeah.
And it tends to have the kind of stamp of, some organisers are better than others, okay? Some group, that's just the way it is. That's life, that's business,
Exactly.
And you need to find that out for yourself,
And like when we talk about raving fans, Anna's been part of Farrah networking for quite a while. And Anna is one of those people that I will close my eyes and recommend, because I know Anna's the journey. I built a relationship with her. I love her work. Yes, she's not done work for me, but I've seen her work. I've heard other members talking about her work. So that's when we talk about raving fans. That's what you do, is when you talk about those people, as Colin says, when they're not with you. And that's how it's done. Yeah.
So that's about it, folks, from me. I've got so much in my head. I know
there's so much. It just can't be. It's like
I've just got some stuff written down here. Because here's another thing as well, and this is for a face-to-face, because you're actually standing in front of somebody. And I wrote it down actually this morning. When you meet people unconsciously, they have questions they need answered about you before they start things moving in the process as to having a one-to-one, okay? There's a lot of stuff unconsciously going on in people's heads. They're sizing you up right away. You'll know that, and then some people just aren't interested. I always come away with the one, before I finish up, here, I bet you all recognise this one. Who's been at a face-to-face networking event and you've been speaking to somebody and they're looking over your shoulder or looking round the room?
All the
Hands
time.
up.
All the time.
Yeah. Who's experienced that? Not what, if you're saying that's never happened, mate, you're lying, or you've only been to one event, maybe. I said this yesterday, everybody was roaring and laughing, you know, nodding their heads. Yeah. Now, that's nothing to do with you. That's, you know, it's not that they don't like you, that's just, they're just not interested. You know, they might, rightly or wrongly, this is where I say some of the stuff you're not in control. This is the way it is. It's like, so don't get upset with people, okay? Or if they don't reply to your emails, just move on to the next person. So, you know, it's going to happen, right? Okay. Because people do get upset. And I've seen some brilliant networkers just give it up because they've had bad experiences. We've all had bad experiences. So there you go. So I'm going to wrap it up at that. Maybe time for some questions, Megan?
Yes.
To either of us or whoever's got.
Yeah, so that was great, Colin. Thank you. Sorry. Oh God, I'm dying a bit. So one of the questions we have, actually, I'll ask firstly if anyone else has any just before I go ahead. Does anyone else have any questions to Colin or Farrah just before we go ahead?
Or even anything we've not covered.
Michael, do you have a question?
Yeah. The question I've got basically is, on a one-to-one situation that we have following their network events, how do we get that engagement? You know, is it through LinkedIn? Is it initially? I just don't know the next approach, because everyone talks get these one-to-ones going, you know, but I just don't know how to take that to the next level. What's the easiest way?
Farrah, do you want to do it for the kind of more the online stuff? Or?
Absolutely. So, for example, let's just talk about Zoom, right? And let me just give you a little tip as well, Michael. On Zoom, if you look at the chat function here, right, yep, and you go right to the top, I put in like, hey everyone, right? Okay, that's a subtle visibility point, very subtle. Right, so when you come in and you look at the chat function and you see that someone's written down good morning, good afternoon, hey everyone, you automatically look at that person who's written it. So clock, seeds already planted, right? There's a tip. And then when you're online, you put in your profile for your LinkedIn, just your profile. Don't tell people what you do, right? Don't give a big spiel about what you do, just put it in there. Now, let's just say, Michael, I've not had a conversation with you, but I've had a networking event online and I put in the link and then I connect with you and I'll say, hey, Michael, it was lovely to meet you. Unfortunately, we never got the chance to speak. I would love to find out more about what you do. Okay. And then you put it into their wall and you say, would you like to have a chat over Zoom and find out more? And you leave it at that. Okay, if they reply back, right, fantastic. If they don't, let it go because they're not for you. Okay, a real networker who knows and understands how to network will appreciate that, just that one question, because a lot of people don't know how to approach people. So if someone does it first, they'll welcome it, and then you'll have then you can book in your one-to-one. Okay, and when you book in your one-to-one, right, always say, give the other person the opportunity to speak. So, Michael, what do you do? Tell me all about you, right? And once you do that, you let them speak. Now, sometimes what happens is they will speak and they'll go on and on and on, and the time will be over, right? Then you say, oh, sorry, Farrah, I really need to go, because it is your time, the time is up. That means that person doesn't know, first of all, maybe how to network, or they're not interested in your services, or they're not interested in having a conversation. So that is one of those question marks you just leave. right? But if that other person has spoken and then gives you the opportunity to speak, two-way conversation, that's when you start building that relationship. Does that help?
That helps, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it all starts with that.
Just to add to that, this is a general business tip as well, folks. Now, you may have a different way of doing it, but it works for me. Is there's a lot of time wasters out there. Okay, you need to be speaking to the right. Your time is precious. Okay, I always say that to folks. Oh, I'm really busy, you know. So I know how you feel, you know, and things like that. Because folk are always coming away with stuff, you know. But there is a lot of time wasters. They've got more time than you, so they've got more time for coffees and things. Okay. I always put the ball, because I get folk all the time coming to me and saying, oh, I need to get one call, I need to talk to you, I need to pick your brains about something, you know, which usually means I want to pick your brains about networking call, but I don't want to pay you. Sometimes there's all sorts of stuff going on, so you've got to cut through all the noise and all the stuff. And this is a general business tip as well. I do this when people want to connect with them in LinkedIn, or they want to book a meeting and stuff. I'll say, because I'm genuinely busy, I'll say to them, you know, I'm really busy just now, you know, happy to try and arrange something at a later date. Can you put a note in your diary for a week's time or to get in touch with me? So I've put the ball back in their court, and this is for just general stuff as well, and see what happens. And I think my comeback rate is maybe 1 out of 10 will get back to me. So what was important? Why did they want to speak to me? Blah, 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 blah. And people have adopted that, and they say that it's just, you know, cut out the dross and the stuff that goes on. Because you need the meeting needs to be arranged. There needs to be a purpose for both people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me add as well, Michael, when you're doing an online networking like one-to-one, only have 20 minutes book in your diary, right? 20 minutes. There's no rules that you have to have an hour one-to-one, right? The best tip is book it in for 20 minutes and leave a 10-minute window, right? If you feel the conversation is exciting and sparking, use that 10-minute buffer, right? If it's not going anywhere, don't use the buffer. Your 20 minutes is up. And that's it. And then you'll eliminate your time wasters that way.
Farrah, can I say something?
Yes.
A lot of people here I haven't met before. I don't know them and they don't know me. So far, I'm the only person who's put anything in the chat as an invitation. Whether you accept it or not is entirely up to yourselves. Because I don't see being on a Zoom chat, if I use the word selling to you. It's not about selling to you. It's perhaps selling to your clients. You've all got clients. They may need advice and guidance. So, for example, you may have a client who would like to pay you, but they're having a hard time just now raising funds. If I can help them, that helps you. Last year, the Scottish Government, or the year before, during COVID, put out a grant. I think it was about £50,000 for the IT sector. Now, I contacted about half a dozen of people I know working in that sector. I said, this is not for you. This is for your clients. They didn't know about it. So if they know about it, who are they going to spend that money on? They're going to spend it on you. So it's about listening. I think it's not about speaking, it's about listening. You have a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever, a pint with your clients socially. You get to learn about them. And that's why I call myself your business and commercial finance facilitator, because very often it's passing on to other people. I think this is.
So what's the question, Bill?
The question is, why haven't other people sold themselves on chat, basically?
And I'll tell you why, right? I tell you why, because they don't know if they should be or shouldn't be, because that's the job of the host.
Right.
The job of the host should have said it at the beginning, no criticism at all, is that if anybody would like to put in the details, please put in the details, and then they would. So that's why people have not put it in. And Bill, you are a serial networker. You know what you do, but a lot of people don't know. So that's why they haven't put it in.
Yeah,
I did that as an actual suggestion, because I'd like to know what they do.
Yes,
I'll then save the chat, and I may then contact them.
So this is the opportunity when everybody puts in the details, and there you go.
Thank you.
No, that's right, because I always say to people, and particularly on the Zoom calls and stuff, yeah, the chat's fine for putting details in, but don't do a war and peace. Compliment other people, and I know the people that I know really well do this well, and you need to get a one-to-one with so and so, or I recommend their services and all this kind of stuff. And just while it's in my brain here is, the pitching's dead, folks. It's yesterday's news.
Yeah.
The pitch now has been replaced by the one-to-one, where you have an in-depth conversation. Okay, you don't want, because what happens is people say far too much, when they're asked to do introductions. And I always say to people, if you've got a 2-minute introduction, you don't need to speak for 2 minutes, because people say too much. You want to say enough to attract their attention, but they want to know more. But if you say the whole spiel, they'll make possibly a wrong decision. So, yeah. But I'll speak to you, Mike, at one of the events. I'll give you one. I've got time today. 1 or 2 more tips for getting your things organised. Don't worry. Okay. Back to the hosts.
Thank you. So, I think we've almost just reached our time limit here whenever. So, does anyone have any more questions, or just a last little bit of question just before we reach our time?
One more
On
for
you go, Colin.
Farrah and I to comment on. Go on. You want to.
Does no one have anyone? Well, we do have one for Farrah, just as a one we do have. So why don't organizations teach their employers, or just inform them, their employers, about why or just how to network?
Good question. I love that. I was an employee as well before, and that's where my networking started. And there's 3 types of networking: operational, personal, and business. When we talk about operational, it means networking within organizations from one department to another department, right? So let's just say I was in IT, for example, which I wouldn't be, but let's just say I was in IT, but we had the advertising department there, but they didn't communicate. I was just a love person, like talking to everybody, and I always made connections. That's where I understood the beauty of networking, because I got everything done because I knew who to speak to. Now, the organizations are missing a big trick here. And then what happens is they blame senior management, or they blame managers. That's what's going on, is because there's no communication happening, right? And they don't understand the power of networking, how to build relationships. So that's where people like Colin and myself go in to these organizations, and we coach them, we teach them, we train them how to do operational networking. And then there's business networking, and there's personal networking. But networking, we should change the word networking. It should be having conversations, human to human connections. That's what networking is all about.
I'm up for that. I said that yesterday, actually, at a seminar. I said, this word networking gets bandied around now. And it really annoys me.
It's the wrong brush.
Oh, God, I know. It's like, and there's so many, like, networking experts out there now. You get folk going to a couple of networking events, and then they write a blog about networking. It's like... But that's just the way life is at the moment, with social media and stuff. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, on a more positive note, we'll finish off, will we?
Thank you, Adam.
No problem. So I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and thank the 2 speakers, Colin and Farrah, for speaking. It was very knowledgeable, and we did learn a lot. So very big thanks to you to attending.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Problem.
Thank you to the hosts, everyone, and also to Farrah, and for the people that attended. Thanks for your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
See you later.
See you.